Okay, so we got rejected again, and now people are making the mistake of thinking that there's a problem and thinking that Bitcoin may never actually break the 70,000 level, because it has been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times that we've been rejected by the 70,000 level. I'm going to show you today exactly when we're going to break the 70,000 level, and I'm going to show you why we're not managing to break that level right now, because now is not the time. Then what I want to show you is I'm going to show you 2 altcoin trades that are so obvious, but people aren't taking them. So I'm going to show you 2 altcoin trades, and I'm going to show you exactly when we're going to break the 70,000 and why we haven't been able to break it yet. That sounds like an amazing show to me, especially as a first show back when I haven't been around. So let's get the show on the road. For those of you who know Josh, I think you guys just say goodbye, Josh. It's his last day here today, last working day. He's just been fired for starting the show without my permission. Oh, welcome. I'm back. Obviously I was at Nashville. Now I'm back bringing you crypto love and crypto wisdom. I have missed the studio. I must say I have missed the studio. But Nashville was an absolute blast. As you know, we went there. They call it Smashville at night, which was absolutely amazing. I met the 𝗕𝗘𝗣𝗕𝗥. I won't tell you what she said to me, but I did meet her. She's amazing. So I had a great time, but now it's back to business, back to bringing you crypto love and crypto wisdom here from the studio. Lots to talk about today, as I said. For those of you who are new, welcome. If you're not already subscribed, subscribe to the channel. For those of you who are subscribed, as you know, I haven't been here, so not many people know that I'm back. What I need you to do to help me is just to smash the like button. Let's get the likes up. That way the algorithm tells everyone, hey, Ran's back. He's back bringing crypto love and crypto wisdom to the community. And that's how we get the message out there. I'm not going to waste any more time. I'm going to get straight into it. Because I respect your time, and I'm going to go straight into what's happening, and we can start off on the charts, because I think that's probably the best place to start off. We were rejected again, so we have always been rejected on this line. You'll remember that this level over here, which is around the 74,000, that's the Bitcoin all-time high. And ever since we touched that all-time high the first time, we've been trying to break through this line, and we were rejected here, we were rejected here, we were rejected here, we were rejected here, and we were rejected here. So we keep getting rejected. I'm going to show you in a second why we got rejected this time. But I think what's very important is that you realize that to break the all-time high, which is probably the most significant resistance that Bitcoin's got. I mean, breaking an all-time high and going into price discovery is not supposed to be easy. And also remember that the longer that you accumulate in what they call a bullish pattern, a bullish flag, the higher you will go. If you look at the size of this flag or the size of this flag and you compare it to the amount that we went up, look at how long and how big this move is. And this is lining us up for a massive move, which is going to happen towards the end of the year. And I'm going to show you exactly when that move starts and where we're going and why we're going there. But let's look at what happened and why we were actually rejected. So first of all, let's look at what happened on the weekend. On the weekend, Trump made his speech. And as you can see, when Trump made his speech, first the market started to dip. I'll remind you, the market actually started to dip. Why? Because they were worried. I was sitting there listening to Trump talk, and we were worried that he actually wasn't going to create that strategic reserve. Because remember, he left that till the very end. So Bitcoin went down to about 67,000 when that happened. You can see it's that red candle over here that took us down to 67,000. Then what happened was we got the Trump speech. And his speech, well, let me tell you how it really was versus what Twitter wants you to believe. The truth is, I don't think Trump really knows a lot about Bitcoin, and I don't really think Trump cares too much about Bitcoin. I think Trump loves Bitcoiners because to him, Bitcoiners represent money and Bitcoiners represent votes. So I don't think that Trump's really got any kind of passion for Bitcoin. But I do think that Trump wants to surround himself with people who are going to vote for him and people that have money. I think also Trump realizes that crypto people are the type of brain power that the US wants to keep in the United States. And he's seeing that this is an easy place to go fish for money and votes. And so I think what happened was he had a very good script writer, and the script writer basically said to him, listen, you got to talk about like 7 or 8 points. The first thing that you got to talk about is you got to talk about moon, because Bitcoin people always talk about moon. Trump said, okay, we're going to the moon. Then he said to Trump, look, you've got a passion point for Bitcoiners is 𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓. And so you got to talk about 𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓. And so he did that. He also said, look, a passion point for Bitcoiners is a CBDC. And so Trump said, okay, under my watch, there will never, ever be a CBDC. Then you'll realize that Trump said something very cool. He said, on day one, you listen to this.
Bro, on day one, I will fire Gary Gensler and appoint a new SEC chairman. I didn't know he was that unpopular.
Now, at this point, what you realize about Trump is that Trump is addicted to affirmations and attention. And so when he gets a response like that, he tries to get the same response again. So listen.
Wow. I didn't know he was that unpopular. Let me say it again. On day one, I will fire Gary Gensler. Whoa.
See, he loves the attention, he loves the applause, he loves the affirmation. And that's exactly what happened. So he managed to get that. But the reality is that the majority of his speech was just the same speech that he says every single time. Kamala's a bad person. The Democrats are bad people. I was the best president. I'm going to be the best president. They evil people. And then he just put in the 7 or 8 important points around Bitcoin, which I summarized on my X account. I said, on day one, free Ross, fire Gary Gensler, legislation written by crypto-friendly people within 100 days, never sell your Bitcoin. And he said, and starting the Bitcoin reserve, specifically using the Bitcoin that the United States government already have, end Operation Choke Point, make the US the most friendly crypto place in the world. And he said, reduce electricity costs and increase availability. So that got everyone, when everyone heard that and everyone heard strategic reserve, everyone got completely euphoric. And what do people get when they get euphoric? The first thing is you can see interest went up immediately as Trump started speaking. The term buy Bitcoin, people started to search for buy Bitcoin. Also, he created what people started calling sovereign FOMO, because if the US is starting to keep a strategic reserve, it only makes sense that other countries are going to want to try and get a head start on Trump. And so countries like Hong Kong have actually replied. I don't know if I've got the tweet here, but countries like Hong Kong basically say, look, it's a very interesting concept. So that's what people are starting to call sovereign FOMO. So what did all of this do? All of this got people really, really, really excited. In fact, too excited. And what do crypto people do when they get excited? They take leverage, right? That's exactly what happened. And so what you can see is from the date where Trump spoke, which was around here, to the top, we got like the leverage went absolutely, absolutely, absolutely crazy. And when leverage goes up, you know what happens when leverage goes up too fast. When leverage goes up too fast, well, when leverage goes up too fast, then that is when there is always a leverage wipe. And you can see that here, leverage got up to the highest level that it's ever been on, $40 billion across all exchanges. In fact, James Van Straten, by the way, I met James Van Straten at the conference, and he's going to be in our conference video. He is one of the smartest Bitcoin analysts out there. I'll tell you that much. Very, very, very smart. He says it was almost going so well. A 20,000 Bitcoin increase in open interest. Highest open interest since the FTX collapse. So you can see, crypto people got excited. And then what happened was the leverage went up, leverage goes up, and then of course leverage gets flushed. And that's exactly what happened. So let's talk about specifically what caused this leverage flush. What was the catalyst that caused this leverage flush? And there were actually 2 catalysts which caused this leverage flush. The first one of them is, I think, not as crazy as the second one. So the first one, as I said, we got this crazy leverage flush. What was it that caused the leverage flush? Well, remember when Donald Trump at the conference said this?
Plan today, I am announcing that if I am elected, it will be the policy of my administration, United States of America, to keep 100% of all the Bitcoin the U.S. government currently holds or acquires into the future. We'll keep 100%. I hope you do well, please.
I hope you do well, please.
This will serve in effect as the core of the strategic national Bitcoin stockpile. As planned today, I am
remember Trump spoke about the coins that the US government already has. So the US government has a whole lot of coins. The majority of those coins they got from seizing coins from people like Silk Road and a whole lot of others. And so they've got about 1% of the world's Bitcoin already, or close to 1% of the world's Bitcoin. And there's always a cloud that they may actually sell them. Now, what Trump said is Trump announced that if he's elected, he's going to hold those forever and pretty much not sell them, right? But then yesterday, those coins, those specific coins that Trump was talking about, remember, Trump's not in control of those coins, the Democrats are, or the government is, they started to move yesterday on chain. And there was a whole lot of speculation that now that Trump has announced that he will hold all the coins, the Democrats, out of spite, are going to move the coins and maybe even sell them. But what most people are missing is that this move was actually probably about this headline. And there was a headline a while back which said, U.S. Marshal Service chooses Coinbase to safeguard its large cap digital assets. It seems like the coins that moved, and yes, they were moved to Coinbase, were moved there so that they could be stored on behalf of the U.S. Marshal Service, which is where the U.S. actually hold their coins. That was the first reason for the leverage flush. The second reason for the leverage flush is this chart over here. And it's not really a great chart. This chart shows the move of Kamala towards Trump. So basically what it shows is, it shows how Kamala is gaining in votes or potentially winning the election. And Trump is starting to lose share to her. And you can see that here, if you look on Polymarket, what you can see is that she is actually gaining on Trump. Okay, so it's just changed. Let's just quickly refresh this. She is actually gaining on Trump ever so slightly. And so this chart is actually making people a little bit bearish. And now the reason why I know that this might be the reason is because what we know about Trump is that Trump is good for markets, and specifically, Trump is good for small cap markets, right? Trump is good for the economy. He's good for markets. Kamala is not good for markets. Now, what I saw yesterday was I saw that when Bitcoin came down, the other chart here which came down was the Russell 2000. And so this move actually shows us two things. The first thing that it shows us is that Bitcoin moved with the Russell 2000, and it probably moved because of this chart over here, because people are starting to maybe say, you know what, maybe it's not 100% chance that Trump's going to win the election anymore. Maybe we were a little bit zealous in deciding that Trump's going to be the election winner. That was the first thing. The good thing about this Russell 2000 is I want to show you something when you look at the Russell 2000. So let's just quickly go to the Russell 2000. It's IWM, there it is. So what you can see is that this chart just had a move, right? You can see the Russell 2000 just had a move. You can see Sheldon's been on my charts because the fibs are so nicely drawn in. Okay, but what you can see is that this chart, if you look at it from the beginning of the year, hasn't really moved as much as the NASDAQ. So if you take a ruler from the beginning of the year, let's call it that, and take it up to here, it's only moved up. Oh, hold on a second. Let's just try and get rid of these. Okay, it's moved up about 20%. It's moved up about 20%. Now, why I'm encouraged by this is because everyone's saying that this is the next chart to move. The Russell 2000 is the next chart to move. And that moved down yesterday when people kind of started to realize that Kamala Harris was making up space on Trump. Now, let's talk a little bit about Kamala Harris. I'm not a big Kamala Harris fan. In fact, as you know, I'm probably not a big Democrat fan at this stage, specifically because of their stance towards crypto. But what we have been hearing in the market is that Kamala Harris and her administration have been reaching out to crypto companies, and what they want to do is they want to actually make good with the crypto companies. Now, I've heard a lot of these stories. You can see there's an article written here, Harris campaign aims to repair Democratic Party ties with the crypto sector. I think we've got to be very careful here. We can't write off Kamala Harris and the Democrats. She has incredible momentum at the moment. She raised a lot of money. She's making up space on Trump. And I don't think it's going to be quite the whitewash that I thought it was going to be when Biden was going to be the electorate. And I always warned about this. I warned about the Kamala Harris risk. She's also she's very smart, and she's a very, very, very good speaker. And so if she lands up debating Trump, I think that in the debate, she may actually win, to be honest. Not because I think that she's better than Trump, just because I think she's a better debater and she's a better speaker than Trump. And so I think there's going to be a little bit of turbulence along the way. The other thing is, I do think that she is going to try and win over some crypto votes. Now, I don't believe for 1 second that any of this is genuine. I think it's just to get the votes, but I do think that they're going to do it. Now, you'll listen to Mike Novogratz talk. Mike Novogratz was on Bankless yesterday. Listen to what he said.
Harris, talk about being an innovation president, talk about pro-crypto, talk about getting rid of Gary Gensler, talking about getting big financial institutions involved in making the U.S. a leader in crypto. And if she does, he's got to drink 3 beers in 15 minutes. And if she doesn't, I will drink 3 beers at PubKey, our favorite crypto bar in Bitcoin bar in New York City.
So you think that's happening? You think that's already written?
Listen, I said this on Fox and on CNBC yesterday. We haven't seen Kamala Harris for 3.5 years. Right? She has had a very non-active vice presidency. And so she's going to now sell herself to the American public. If she sells herself as the liberal senator who had the 99th most liberal voting record in the Senate from California, the most liberal state, she's going to lose. If she reads the temperature of the country, if she reads the temperature of the party and pivots to the center, picks a Mark Kelly as her vice president, which I think she will, maybe announces a Secretary of Treasury in advance to bolster her economic credibility, talks about how she's going to make the country better, I think she's going to win.
Okay, look, I don't think she's going to win. I think Trump eventually beats her, but I do think there's going to be some turbulence along the way. And I also believe that she is going to try and win back some of the crypto vote. And I think you're actually starting to see it now in the background. I tweeted something the other day where I said, high probability that Kamala fires Gary Gensler before the elections in a desperate move to prove that she's serious and try and win back some of the crypto votes. Now, if you were watching the I'm trying to find a little thing today. Let me just try and find this for us. Here, I don't know if you saw this, but SEC moved to amend complaint against Binance, seeks to no longer prove tokens such as Solana, Cardano, Matic are securities in the Binance case. So I think already you're starting to see a softer approach by the Democrats, and they're going to start dropping cases around the SEC because they realize that they need to fight and win the crypto vote. And I think it's no coincidence that she never came to the Bitcoin conference. I think she knows that if she would have come to the Bitcoin conference, she would have been booed off the stage. But I think that she's now starting to make actions that she can go and say, look, guys, since Joe Biden dropped out of the race, this has happened, this has happened, this has happened, this has happened. This will happen when I'm in power. This will happen when I'm in power, so that she can try and win back some of the crypto votes. Now, look, ultimately, I think Trump is better for Bitcoin and crypto than Kamala Harris is. But this fight between them is the best thing that could actually happen to crypto. Because when they're trying to, it's like, I mean, I hate to use this example, but let's use it anyway. It's like, a kid, when the two parents are divorced and are fighting, the biggest loser is the kid, but the biggest winner is also the kid, because this one gives him more gifts, this one gives him more gifts, this one gives him more gifts to try and win over who's got more favoritism with the kid, so to speak, right? Or with the parents. So that is how I see this fight between the Democrats and the Republicans. The ultimate winner is us. The ultimate winner is crypto, regardless of which way you look at it. And so I think that where we're heading to now is we're heading towards an amazing, amazing, amazing Q4. I really do. We're nearly at the end of Q3. And you can see something here which is very, very interesting. I want you to look at this chart over here. So next month is the end of Q3, or we're now in August. You'll remember that we called a very good July. We got a very good July, exactly like we called, and now we're going into August. But it's not an ordinary August. August is it's not an ordinary Q4. As you can see, Q4 is the best quarter for Bitcoin by far. It's the best quarter for Bitcoin. But look specifically at the halving years. Okay, at the 2020 up 168%, 2016 58%. So we know that on the halving year and the year after the halving, those years are the most amazing years generally for Bitcoin. And it looks like this year is going to be exactly that. I think it's going to be exactly that. So far, it's playing out perfectly, and it looks like we will enter the banana zone, as they call it, as 𝗲𝗚𝗚 calls it. I think what we need to look out for is, this is a big week for macro. So if you look at tomorrow night, and we'll be here live when it actually happens. We have an FOMC on our hands. And I know that the chances of an interest rate cut tomorrow are close to zero. Let's just quickly look at what it is. So 95.9% chance that there's going to be no rate cut tomorrow. But I think that Powell has to start cutting interest rates, and he has to start cutting interest rates very, very, very soon. Why? The total debt in the US is now 35 billion. I think I read a stat that said something like the interest payments were as big as the GDP or something. What? There was a stat like that. The researchers will send us the stat now in a second. But what you can see is that also we're starting to feel McDonald's reports first global sales drop since 2020. So it just shows that things are starting to slow down. Here we go. So since January 2020, the total debt has ballooned by 50% from 23 trillion to 35 trillion. Interest on the debt also skyrocketed with rates around 5%. Interest on debt is on pace for 1.5 trillion next year, 30% of all government revenue collected. And Elon actually commented it. He commented on it previously where he said the US is on the verge of bankruptcy. And that's the problem. The problem is that they can't keep rates high for very much longer. So I think tomorrow what we get is we get a very, very, very dovish FOMC. So look out for tomorrow, because I think what's going to happen tomorrow is that we're going to get a dovish FOMC. So that's a bullish FOMC. And then again, I think Bitcoin makes a go for the 70,000. And I think what's going to happen is, I think that in the next, I said it before, within 60 days, and I said it about 10 days ago. So let's say within 50 days, Bitcoin breaks that 70,000. And when, here we go, Paulo, our researcher, says, here is that stat around the debt. Let's quickly have a look at it. Here it is. Interest on the debt now exceeds defense spending. I mean, these are big numbers. These are big numbers. So I do think that we get a dovish FOMC tomorrow, and then Bitcoin makes another go for the 70,000. I don't know whether we break the 70,000 immediately, but I do know that when we do break the 70,000, then we're in price discovery. And when we're in price discovery, it's going to be, I mean, look, just have a look at this chart. You're printing a cup and handle pattern. We're going into price discovery. I think it's a matter of time. And I think that there's very, very, very few opportunities to be buying coins at these levels. And I think that once we do break through, it's going to happen very, very quickly. And we're going to start looking at a chart that looks something like this. And it's a matter of time. I mean, we tested it 6 times. You know how this game works. You just test resistance, test resistance, test resistance. And then eventually you break through. And once you've broken through, you know exactly what happens. So that's what I think happens now. I think, let's say within 50 days, I'm willing to put my money that within 50 days, we go straight into price discovery. Truth is, I would say, if I were to guess an exact date, I'd say actually within 30 days. But give me 50 days. And that's also when it comes to altcoins. So when it comes to altcoins, don't make the mistake that everybody else is making. Everybody's writing off altcoins. And listen, I understand why everybody's writing off altcoins. Because when you look at altcoins and you look at Bitcoin dominance and you look at this uptrend that Bitcoin dominance is in, and you speak to Ben Khan, and by the way, we spoke to Ben Khan in Nashville. He is going to be a big part of the show when we drop the show in a day or two. We just have to find a slot to actually drop it. What you can see is that Bitcoin dominance is just going higher and higher and higher. And yesterday was at like 56.78. So very high. But guys, I need to remind you, when altcoins catch up, that is when the real ride starts. It's all fun and games on Bitcoin, and it's all fun and games while Bitcoin's going up 66, 67, 68. When we break 70, 74, and that Bitcoin dominance starts to drop. And I'll tell you one thing. Even the biggest Bitcoin dominance bull, which in my opinion is Ben Khan, the biggest Bitcoin dominance bull, he says, look, by September, we should start coming down on dominance. You'll hear that whole interview when we drop the video. And then alts are going to catch up. And I was speaking to Sheldon today, and he said, you got to look at 2 things here. You got to look at total 3, and this is a total 3 chart. And you can see that this total 3 chart is about to break out here and is starting to print a cup and handle. And that's one of the most bullish patterns that you can see. You can also see it when you look at the Solana chart. He says, look, you've already had the breakout from the Solana chart, and that's going to start printing the cup and handle, and then we're going to Valhalla. So don't lose sight of the fact that you've got very, very, very limited time to get into your altcoins. It's not the same as previously. Guys, Sol has broken out, total 3 will break out, and then we're going to go into the craziest of Q4s out there, because that's what Q4 looks like. I mean, I'm just the messenger. This is the data. I'm just showing you the data that's over here, and it's showing you that Q4 is the most mental quarter, specifically in the halving years and next year. So you don't really have much time to make your altcoin trades. And I also realized yesterday that we are moving into a new part of the market. The new part of the market is actually not the crazy part of the market. It's not this part of the market yet. So let's break it up and say, we're not exactly here, right? But where we are is we are probably moving into this part of the market. Now, what's the difference? This is when old players that were in crypto, who are familiar with wallets and they are familiar with crypto and they're comfortable with ecosystems, are convinced to come back. And they're convinced to come back because they realize that the 4-year cycle is playing out like the 4-year cycle is playing out. And so we have convinced them to come back. And the reason why I'm so confident about this is, I mean, I don't want to name and shame, so I'm not actually going to name and shame, but I am going to say, I have a friend, and he hasn't been in crypto forever. Like, the guy's been having fun with his life. I see him posting shit on Instagram. He's surfing. He's seeing, and now I get a message from him out of the blue. Now, I thought this guy was completely out of crypto, but in the last cycle, me and him had some great times and made a lot of money together. But he got washed out, flushed out. Don't know if he lost his money, but he got flushed out. And then I got this message from him saying, hey, how's it going? Are you planning to arrive in Singapore for token 2049? Maybe you can see here when the last time, okay, you can't see when the last time we got a message, but the last time I got a message from him was like 2021. And he says, are you planning to go to Singapore for 2049? I was like, yeah, sure. Yeah, he says, yes, I'm going to be there. I just closed my flight now. A few years ago, we had one of the funniest nights ever there. You see, they're starting to come back and they're starting to make friends again in the crypto circles. Now, that's the first part of the cycle. That's going to happen now, August, September. And then the second part of the cycle is that these guys go and bring their friends. It's like, I mean, it's like, when you get like certain people that they go out, they go and bring they come in and they bring in the retail investors. And so what's going to happen is we're going to go through this part of the cycle over here, right? And then here, and then we're going to go through that part of the cycle. This is when new retail comes in. Now we're just bringing in lapsed investors. They're starting to come into the market. So you don't have much time. A lot of people are making the mistake of thinking that this altcoin market, that this altcoin run ain't going to happen. Believe me, this altcoin run is now very, very, very much around the corner. Now, 2 trades that I'd be looking at if I was looking at altcoins. They're pretty obvious trades, but I'm going to show you the trades anyway, and I'm going to show you what the alpha is in these trades. The first trade that I think you need to pay attention to, and I keep screaming this trade, number 1, is you have to be looking at ETH. So why am I all of a sudden so bullish on ETH? Now, I'm not really bullish on ETH. If anything, I'm bullish on ETH options. I've showed you my trade around ETH is to just buy the December 2024 options because I think it's the cheapest and best risk-adjusted entry. But why am I so bullish? Well, we've had some outflows from the ETH ETF, but 20% of the Grayscale ETH holdings are now gone. So 20% of the ETH holdings are gone in like the first week or 10 days. So Dan Crypto says minus 100 million again yesterday. Outflows still continuing, but we only got 210 million outflows versus the 300 million plus every other day last week. So the flows out of ETH are starting to slow down. And what's happening is they're starting to follow the Bitcoin pattern. Now, let me just show you the Bitcoin pattern. This is the Bitcoin pattern of outflows. ETF started to trade. Then we got Grayscale holdings reduced by 20%. And then that marked the bottom. So ETH started to trade. We had a dip. Then we touched minus 17%. And the ETF went down 20%, right? So as this guy says, his name is Mads, he says, There is, of course, a net outflow from the ETH ETF when Grayscale's primary ETF is depleting at an unprecedented rate. So what happens once we move past the peak of these Grayscale outflows? Well, exactly what happened to Bitcoin. And we started going up and up and up. Now, at the same time, the ETH staking is starting to increase. So I think you've got very, very, very limited time here to start putting in your ETH before ETH actually makes a move. Now, again, the ETH move doesn't really excite me very much. It excites me a lot more because I'm in options, and my options are basically like playing with leverage, right? But what also excites me is what the CIO of the ETF and index investments at BlackRock said. Just listen to what she says about the next part of this ETH cycle and the Bitcoin cycle.
And now another thing a lot of people are looking for, the next sort of catalyst will be these big wirehouses, Morgan Stanley, Wells Fargo, UBS. They've got trillions of advisor assets. Where are they at in terms of onboarding these ETFs and even soliciting them?
Yeah, that is exactly what I think will be the story of this year and next year. They are doing their jobs, and their job is risk analytics, due diligence, and really looking at, and they look at them very differently, of course, because, you know, as we know, Bitcoin and ETH are two very different asset classes with different use cases, but looking at their role in the portfolio, and particularly their utility as portfolio diversifiers. And I think what will then happen towards the end of this year and into next year is we will see allocations made in model portfolios, which will give us much more of a steer as to how investors are using them.
Has BlackRock put the crypto ETFs into your own model portfolios?
So our not into our model portfolios, and all of our model allocations and also all of our holdings period are generally public. So you can see where we have allocations either, you know, very.
So what she's saying is that the next phase of this market is people going into the model portfolios. Now, model portfolios are like exactly what it says. It's model portfolios. And people are going to start incorporating Bitcoin and ETH into their model portfolios, not people, institutions. And she says they haven't done that yet, and BlackRock also hasn't done that. And when that happens, there's only two assets that they can put into the model portfolios: Bitcoin and ETH. And so I think that in Q4, we're definitely going to get a model portfolio inclusion with Bitcoin and ETH, and that's going to set off a lot of people buying. I also saw this, which was, it says, a Michigan state pension fund makes 6.6 million Bitcoin ETF investment. Now, just think of the Michigan state pension fund. Let's quickly see how big Michigan state pension fund is. I think that will give us an idea. I just want to show you what how big is Michigan state pension fund? Okay, it's $95 billion, okay? Now, this fund that has $95 billion in it apparently put $6.6 million in of the Bitcoin ETF. Now, if I were to ask you, like, if you're $95 billion portfolio, do you think you ever make any investment of just 6.6 million? Or do you think that this is part of a strategy to just start buying and buying and buying and buying and buying? Obviously, they're starting to buy. And so it shows that the next part of the cycle, which is why I think Q4 is going to play out as planned, is state pension funds buying Bitcoin and then adding it to model portfolios, as well as the fact that they're going to start buying ETH, and ETH continues to be staked. So to me, the first obvious trade, which you mustn't miss, is the ETH trade. But how do you get into the ETH trade? So to me, as I said, there's two ways to get into the ETH trade, and I did pretty quickly. First thing is go to ΔERIBIT, open an account at ΔERIBIT, and start buying ETH options. Like I started buying ETH options. You can see I bought 70 there and 30 options there. I will be buying more options. If you haven't already got a ΔERIBIT account, just go to, I don't know if it's in the description because I didn't actually plan on talking about ΔERIBIT, but they will put in crypto enter. Let's just quickly go into the description and have a look here. Here we go. Nice thumbnail. Wow. Amazing thumbnail from the thumbnail team. So what you can see is, okay, we will get your ΔERIBIT link. Use the ΔERIBIT link. Sign up. Here it is. There it is. Sign up to ΔERIBIT. Do the KYC so you can trade the options. But if that doesn't give you enough adrenaline or dopamine, then the other trade that you can do is you can look at what they call the reflexivity trade. What is the reflexivity trade? It's which tokens move the most when ETH moves. So if ETH moves up, what are the tokens that move the most when ETH moves? And if ETH goes down, what are the tokens that ETH, that's called a reflexivity trade. And so for those of you who want to play ETH without actually playing ETH and want a higher reflexivity trade, very simple. We made it for you. We took the ETH trade and we said, all right, what are the most, can you take, we love Nicholas, that's Nicholas, can you just take his comment down so we can actually see? So here is the reflexivity of the various ETH trades. Like you can see ETH goes up 26%, MOG goes up 94%, Pepe goes up 51%, BananaBot goes up 74%, Pendle goes up 43%, ENS goes up 33%. So you want to find the highest reflexivity plays. These are just some of them that happen. So some of them that happen for ETH. And so you can decide which ones you want to put your money into. Personally, I think for high risk profile people, going to Pepe, Mog, Banana, going to those ones. If you're a conservative investor and you want more value, then go into the ENSs, go into the makers and stuff like that. But start looking at the different reflexivity, because ETH is going to have a move. And when that move happens, you want to make sure you're in. I'm getting a message from 𝗕𝗕𝗕𝗕𝗣. And usually when Marty, okay, yeah, it is something that Marty, it is something that I plan on talking about, sir. It is something I'm going to talk about, sir. So that's the first trade, ETH. And I don't mean ETH, I mean go into ETH reflexivity and go into ETH options, and then you'll get the same amount of adrenaline on the boring ETH trade. We know that it's a boring ETH trade. The other trade is the heated debate around whether Sol is the trade or ETH is the trade. Now, the reality is that Sol definitely has a share of voice and share of mind right now. I don't know if you guys have been watching, but there's many more people talking about Solana than are talking about ETH. Many more degens, and I'll show you in a second why. But I think you need to get into the Sol trade. I know that if you look at Sol and it's at about $180 at the moment, you think to yourself, okay, this looks a bit expensive. But I want to show you something. So I don't know if you remember, I was pulling up this chart. It's a Sol ETH chart. This is which basically shows you the price of Sol versus the price of ETH. Now you can see that we're about to break out of this into price discovery, right? You can see that's the chart over there. What you can also see here, and I'm going to take a little bit of credit here, is when I opened up this chart, I found this circle over it. It was pre-drawn, and I looked at the day where I said, this is going to be the bottom for Sol ETH. The meme coin cycle may be dead, but meme coins weren't the only thing powering Solana. And that is what the data is actually showing us. And so you will get a lot of FUD around people on Solana, around people holding Solana. And you will get a lot of people telling you to move into ETH. But you know what you need to do when that happens. You need to go against the grain, and you need to be looking at the buying. Now, just for shits and giggles, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a big circle over here, and I'm going to say, this is when we said that people were FUDing our bags. So this was FUD. Let's just write FUD. So that was the day that I actually said that you should probably be buying the Sol ETH chart. And if you had actually done the switch between Sol ETH, then you would have made 50% extra on your money. Now, I mean, I love this tweet here, which says, if you're ETH or Sol, pivot to ETH and Sol. And I think that that's where you have to be right now. I think you have to right now be in ETH and in Sol. Be in the ETH betas and the ETH proxies, and then get into Sol. And the reason why I say that you need to get into Sol now is there's a lot of tailwinds which are going to be driving Sol forward. The first of the tailwinds is this tweet from 𝗕𝗕𝗕𝗕𝗕, where the SEC, in the case against Binance, pretty much said that they are not looking to classify Sol, 𝗕𝗢𝗕𝗕𝗥, Filecoin them as securities, according to the SEC. It was one of the things I showed you in the beginning of the show. The next thing is the Sol USD chart, which is what Sheldon showed me earlier, is now printing this cup and handle. So it's broken out through this line and it's printing this cup and handle. So I think that the Sol move is actually just starting. A lot of people are saying it's the end of the Sol move. I think the Sol move is actually just starting, and all the metrics are absolutely amazing. So look at the total TVL is increasing very, very fast. Look at the revenue, and specifically look at the revenue on pump.fun. One app on the Sol ecosystem is making more fees than the entire ETH ecosystem. Okay, so you could say, listen, you know, it's meme coins, and who the hell cares about meme coins? Meme coins ain't going away. Meme coins are probably the world's biggest casino, And of course, they're all on Solana at the moment because that's where you can actually play. And so meme coins ain't going away. In fact, meme coins ain't going away that we've actually at Banter decided that we're launching a meme coin only channel. In the next like 2 or 3 days, we're going to launch another channel on Banter, which is going to be meme coins only. Now, you guys will be the first people in the world to have access to it. But there we're going to do a whole lot of meme shows and stuff like that. The meme coin game isn't going to go away. And it is driving Solana's metrics absolutely through the roof. Solana generated 5.5 million total fees yesterday, the highest amount in 3 months. Where's that coming from? It's coming from meme coins. DEX volume all coming from meme coins. I did see this though, which is why I say you should be in Sol and ETH. A lot of people are saying, look, people always compare the ETH DEX volume to the Sol DEX volume, and they say, like Sol's better in DEX volume. But the truth is, if you take the ETH plus the ETH layer 2s, which is the ETH ecosystem, the ETH ecosystem still has more DEX volume than Solana. And so, again, I think what you need to be, like if you look at Sol and you look at ETH, I think that Chris Boniski is right. I think $1,000 on Sol may be very conservative. I think now we are moving into the next phase of the bull market. And because we're moving into the next phase of the bull market, you need to make sure that you got your trades. And I think the two most obvious trades are obviously the Sol and the ETH. So you got to make sure that you are in those trades. Couple of other things before we go. The first thing is, I don't know how many of you are in the Swarm token. Swarm is of course one of our sponsors, but they did take a vote and the community spoke that they must burn tokens. And so that's exactly what they're doing. They now are burning 1/3 of their tokens. This is a massive burn. They're burning one third of their tokens. A Swarm is a real world asset platform. One of the best real world assets platform out there. They've taken a vote and they are going to burn 37% of their tokens. Let's just see what the market cap's fully diluted 150. If they burn 1/3 of the tokens, it means the market cap's going to go down to about 100, which is huge. Then, I don't know how many of you saw this, but if you're not already in BitFunded, I'm funding another 100 people to take the challenge. So all you need to do is open an account on BitFunded. This is where you trade basically with other people's money. So go to bitfunded.com, take out a challenge. So a challenge can be a 5,000, 10,000, 25,000, 50,000, 100,000. Once you take out a challenge, drop your user ID over here. Okay. And when you do, I may just fund your account so you get a free challenge. And I remember this is for me the most risk-adjusted way to actually make money at the moment. Why? Because you're trading with other people's money if you're a smart trader. So that's basically how it works. Should we talk about Baked? No, we'll save Baked for tomorrow. Remember, if you want to win the Cybertruck, there's not many days left. Just go here to this show over here. Click on this, open a Bybit account using one of our links. Click on this. You got 46 days before we give away the Cybertruck. Also, if you want to win $10,000 in BitGet tokens, open an account using our BitGet link. I will see you guys again tomorrow. It's so nice to be back at the studio. Until then, guys, trade well, my friends.